incredibly difficult now to run an organizing campaign. And when you add to that this huge industry that has grown up, basically it's called union avoidance, right? And it's basically very expensive attorneys that will come in and literally run an anti-union campaign the whole time, scaring your employees, telling your employees that the place is going to shut down, everybody's going to lose their jobs, things are going to be terrible. And, you know, it never ceases to amaze me how many people, very wealthy people, or people who own these corporations, will pay somebody $350 an hour to avoid paying their workers $11.50 more an hour. But if you look at the numbers, and certainly on a state level, if you look at places like the UC or other public universities, people are paying these consultants and these union avoidance experts with our tax money. And they're spending a lot of money on it. So this farm workers bill, which was just a very small, modest, in fact, I was almost embarrassed when I was up there at how little we asked for, right? What it does is it enables people to sign a card. Instead of, you know, you can still have an election, people can still agree they're gonna have an election, but instead of having to get, you know, 50% plus one of the employees to vote, you get 50 plus 1 cards. You know, both sides agree, management and labor agrees, that if you get 60 cards or however many cards, and more people want to join a union than don't, then you have a union and you start bargaining. And it's kind of a fair, what it does is everybody puts their cards on the table, so to speak, and you agree there's not going to be interference, there's not going to be a lot of, you know, you're not going to hire people to come in and run an anti-union campaign. It's a very modest thing. People have been using card check. In fact, Kaiser, it's a voluntary way that management and labor can agree to have a union, to have a collective bargaining unit. And it's something that, again, the right wing has completely hijacked it and created this discourse around the secret ballot, right, and the sacredness of the secret ballot. And I have to say, my first, you know, kind of foretaste of doom was when I was called in to meet with the governor. We waited for hours to meet with the governor last week, and it was myself, 2 other labor leaders from the Los Angeles Federation of Labor, former farm worker Maria Elena Durazo, Cindy Chavez from San Jose, and we sat there. We waited for hours, and he finally came down, and, you know, Sutter Brown came down too, the little dog, and for a minute I thought, I'll just grab and put him in my bag, and I'll be like, sign the bill, or the dog gets it. The old school union way. Wouldn't terrible if something bad happened to Sutter Brown, wouldn't it? But we all laughed, we sat there waiting, and he finally came in, and he was tired, apparently, he'd been yelled at and screamed at by the Assembly and the Senate for, you know, for the very quick veto he gave their budget. And he sat down, and as we started talking, he said, well, you know, I'm really concerned about the secret ballot. And my heart just fell, because I said, if Jerry Brown, the person that we all worked so hard for, fought so hard for, campaigned so hard, if he could sit here across the table from people who he knows, I mean, Maria Elena Durazo, she grew up in a family of 15 people who worked in the fields in Marysville, Peaches. Myself, daughter of an immigrant, day labor, and sit here and say secret ballot. And I was so shocked that I actually said to him, what do you do? What are you saying secret ballot? That's Glenn Beck jargon. That's like something that the right wing says. This is a non-issue, you know that. And of course, after we went and debriefed, all the folks from United Farm Workers looked at me, and every time, you know, well, what did you say? And I said, well, I said this, and they go, you said that? And then all the other people would go, yeah, she said that. And for a while, I was feeling very bad about it, kind of like, oh, I'd obviously overstepped my bounds, and oh, you know. Now I am so glad that I looked across the table and told him he was selling it. I'm so glad. Because he sold us out, and I actually said this. I said, you know, I did everything to basically make him think that he would go to hell if he didn't sign it. But I did use the guild card. I did use the Mexican guild card, and I did tell him. I said, you know, when I was little, we went on marches with you, and we saw your picture in the paper. And my mother said to me, this man cares about Mexicans, and he cares about us workers, even though he's not Mexican. And I said, now, my mother won't say that anymore if you veto this bill. We will know that you were bought off and convinced by the vineyard owners and the growers and all these people that can't be bothered to put out shade and water and have people die while they're picking grapes in 100-degree heat. But you want to give them a say in how the card check bill gets written. And, you know, he was pretty subdued, I have to say. I don't know if it was because of being yelled at earlier. But after I left, I had heard that maybe it was tied up with the budget. You know, maybe it was the budget. He was trying to get those extra 4 Republicans, some of them were in agribusiness, and maybe he needed to use this as a chip. And I thought, what has happened to us as a movement, both the labor movement, as Democrats, when we are making excuses for people to stab us in the back? How could we get to this point where we not only use their words, give them the words, then allow them to turn their back on us without any kind of fight, any kind of consequence, any kind of accountability? Even if it's just saying that to the person, even if it's just for us to say the words, you know, you did not do right by the people who elected you. And yet the pushback and the criticism that we get from others, you know, I had a little tantrum on my Facebook page that I wrote, never another dime of my money goes to Democrats. Of course, only who do I really have not given that much money to Democrats. It's not like they're going to be worried about it, right? But I did get quite a few people saying, "Oh, Lisa, that's okay. Oh my God, you know, people are going to get mad." But I have to say, I feel like I need a party, and I need candidates that will speak up for the working class, and will speak up for working people, and will speak up for the majority of us. I need a party, and I need candidates, and I need a labor movement that knows how to fight with some of the dirtiest of fighters. I mean, we had a little discussion earlier, and we should probably open it up for questions and talk about this. But the right wing has hijacked the discourse. They have mainstream media working for them. I'm constantly appalled at the terms and the frame of reference that mainstream media uses, and it's all right wing. I mean, unfunded pension liability, pensions are out of control, public employees are sucking us dry. All of this has been adopted wholesale by a media that doesn't bother to answer questions, or even ask questions, or even, you know, find out information. And yeah, I was really appalled. I have to tell Norman that one of his, Paul Gullickson, the editor for the PD, did a tweet, and he talked about the carbon monoxide being the new law with the carbon monoxide filters being part of the nanny state. He said, "Is this part of the nanny state?" And I swear to God, I thought, what has happened? It's like the most far-right jargon is now mainstream use. You know, and we really need to work hard to reclaim our language, reclaim our ideas, reclaim our democracy, because this is not a fight that we're going to win just, you know, by being reasonable. I think that, you know, that's the other thing about the Democratic Party is they have this, and I think it's a class issue. I actually do think this. I put that on Martha. I was arguing with her, and I said, it's this zeal to appear well-bred and to avoid conflict, and this idea that if we just explain to people nicely that their foot is on our neck, they'll take it off and everything will be fine. That has not worked if it ever did work, and at this point what we need is either a radical left wing to move the party and to balance some of the political discourse. So that is where I will leave it, and then I guess open it up for questions.
Yeah, I think